Hi, and welcome to Best in Tesla News, episode 278. Tesla has just confirmed what I have been saying about Tesla's European demand for the last 5 months. And we saw the world's biggest EV range test being done in Norway. And Tesla was, of course, leading in efficiency. And Tesla just launched a whole new page on their website dedicated to just full self-driving. And Tesla did a long post this week about grid-forming inverters. And Elon Musk is frustrated with Trump's new big beautiful bill. And Piper Sandler says that Tesla is doing things very differently than any other in the industry. And we are seeing Tesla sales on the rise again and making new sales records in Asia. All of this and much more in today's episode. Let's dive right in.
Let's put our living stereo stylus in this groove.
And we have to talk a little bit more about Tesla's so-called demand problem here in Europe, because we have just got some confirmation from Tesla. I have been trying for all of 2025 to explain how you don't just shift the world's best-selling car that stands for 65% of Tesla's sales overnight, how this will take time long after Q1 2025, as they had to stop the Model Y production line completely and then ramp the new production line up again. But just as critical, get all of those new Model Ys out to customers, and that will take time, and it will come in waves, as you don't just have a complete filled inventory like that. And we don't even have all the models available yet either. But now a Tesla UK spokesperson have just confirmed what I have been talking about for months. As he stated, the refreshed Model Y will be delivered locally in June. Pre-orders for the new Model Y in UK are performing well, and sales are expected to rebound in June. The spokesperson also noted that the sales decline in May was due to the depletion of the old Model Y inventory, with the company awaiting new vehicle deliveries from the Berlin factory. Oh, what a surprise. And even though we are waiting for the next wave of the Model Ys to come to the UK, remember that the Model Y and the Model 3 are still the two best-selling BEV models in the country. So the claim that nobody wants to buy Teslas anymore is also ridiculous, as there are more people that wants to buy a Tesla EV than anything else. Like Alex also wrote, inventory of the new Model Y are either low or non-existing in many European countries, which is why sales figures are artificially low. Tesla UK has just confirmed this for the UK, and many other countries in Europe have the same problem. When you introduce a new model and stop selling the bestseller, it takes time to replenish the supply chain. The opinion of many in the media that demand for Tesla is low is plain wrong. Yes, and we can actually start to see Tesla's Model Y is pulling away from the competition in Europe's BEV market. As you can see here on this list, this is of course not completely up to date with all the countries, but the data that we do have, we can see that the Model Y, that was neck and neck with the ID.7 only a month or two ago, is now pulling away and is more than 6,000 units in front. That gap will only increase over the next few months. But I will of course keep an eye on this. But another thing you also have to keep in mind with the success of the ID.7 here in Europe is that most of those 25,000 units of the ID.7 are sold in Germany. More than 12,000 units comes from Germany, and 60% of all cars sales in Germany are commercial and not private, and foreign suppliers such as Tesla has very little sales in that segment because they do not offer mass massive discount. So most of the ID.7 is probably company cars in Germany. So the success of the ID.7 might be a little artificially high because of that. But people also seem to forget that Tesla sales comes in waves, as they can't get cars out to all corners of Europe from their one single factory on the continent that only produces this one car model. Turkey is a great showcase of exactly that, as we can see here on Roland's chart. Tesla only sells the Model Y in Turkey, and all of them come from the Berlin factory. So you can see they had no sales in January, none. Then in February, they had a nice big sales, probably because of great incentive to get the old Model Ys out to customers. Then they had very little sales in March and April. You know, when people like Fred Lampert starting screaming about demand problem for Tesla, sales has collapsed. And then in May, we see big sales numbers again. So my guess is still that we will see Tesla sales continue to rise through June and Q3 in all of Europe. We saw the world's biggest EV range test being done in Norway, and Tesla, of course, did very well in that test. Firstly, Tesla also shared this range test and wrote, Model Y exceed range test range by 11%, totaling 653 kilometers. In the world's biggest EV range test in Norway, also Model 3 delivered 729 kilometers of range, proving bang for buck at just above 400,000 Norwegian crowns. Yes, this is very impressive. And if we look at this chart as well, we can see that the Model 3 is actually the most efficient EVs of them all, with only 12.5 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So very impressive, because the Lucid Air does have a huge range, the longest range of any one of the EV tested here, and it does that with good efficiency but also a huge battery, and it's not as efficient as the Tesla Model 3. And the Lucid is actually the car that gets the biggest percentage under the WLTP range, coming in 13% less than the WLTP rated range. But the version of the Lucid Air that has this kind of range cost about 3 times as much as the Tesla Model 3. So Tesla is right by saying providing bang for buck. And it did 729 kilometers in real world range. That is very impressive. That is about 455 miles of range for you Americans. So this is a lot of range for not a lot of money. You can also see it was the car with the second longest range. Only the 3 times more expensive Lucid Air got more range. But the Polestar 3 also has a very nice range. But again, when it comes to bang for the buck, it does cost a lot more. As in my country, the Polestar 3 cost about the equivalent of $45,000 more than the Tesla Model 3. So it's almost twice the price as the Tesla Model 3 long-range rear-wheel drive that is used in this test in my country cost about $50,000. So the amount of range you get from the Model 3 for that price is just unmatched. And both the Model 3 and the Model Y do better than the WLTP rated range. And the Tesla Model Y is the one that does the most range compared to its rated range than anyone else. 11% more range than rated. And 653 kilometers or 408 miles of real-world range is very good for that car as well. The test is no doubt done at a very slow pace, as they are trying to get to the WLTP range. So there is probably absolutely no highway driving in this test whatsoever. But like I showed on this channel 6 years ago with my very first video ever on this channel, I did a test of the Model 3 to see if it was possible to get the WLTP range of the car. And it did actually exceed the WLTP range that was 567 kilometers of range back in 2019. And yes, that was the long-range all-wheel drive, and today you can get a Tesla Model 3 that does 729 kilometers of real-world range. That is one hell of improvement in 6 years. And the all-wheel drive today of the long-range Model 3 does 629 kilometers WLTP. So that is also an improvement of 11% 30% in range on that model alone. And the price are much more affordable today, about $15,000 cheaper, and you get about 11% more range. And of course, just a much better car overall. Tesla has really come a long way. Tesla just launched a new page on their website dedicated to full self-driving. And they revealed some new information on it, that 3.9 billion miles have been driven on full self-driving supervised. Full self-driving supervised is 54% safer than a human driver when it's engaged. And full self-driving supervised is trained on what amount to over 100 years of anonymous real-world driving scenarios from Tesla's fleet of over 6 million vehicles. Tesla's fleet collectively experience a lifetime of driving scenarios in 10 minutes. So when you're done watching this video, Tesla has experienced about 2 lifetimes worth of driving. Please let that one sink in, because we all know this is the power of AI, right? That it can learn from multiple sources but be all put into the same model. And that is really how they learn so exponentially. So just imagine how good Tesla's system will be by the end of this year. So we have about 200 days left. That is about 288,000 minutes. So that means by the end of 2025, Tesla will have collectively got more driver experience than what is equivalent to more than 28,000 lifetimes. So the alpha version of version 14 of full self-driving might be ready for unsupervised here in June, as it is probably become as good as any human, probably even a little bit better than the average human. As Tesla also showed, full self-driving supervised is already 54% safer than a human driver when it's engaged. But by the end of this year, it will already be superhuman. This is something people have to remember, that just because Tesla is confident enough in the system that they will be launching a robotaxi here in June does not mean they will not improve on the system. It will learn more and more and become better and better every day that ticks by. I have made videos before about Tesla's virtual machine mode, but this week Tesla made a long post about their grid forming inverters. Tesla's megapack post here on grid forming inverters that are critical technology for stabilizing power grid, as renewable energy sources like solar and wind replace fossil fuel based generators, addressing challenges like voltage and frequency fluctuations. Grid forming inverters mimic traditional generators by providing synthetic inertia, fault current and black start capabilities, and enables reliable operation during disturbance and support a transition to 100% renewable grid, as demonstrated by Tesla's early adoption in Australia 7 years ago. The post urged independent system operators to incentivize grid forming system through market mechanisms and update the standards, citing their ability to enhance grid resilience, which studies like those from NREL emphasizes their role in managing weak grid conditions, as Tesla ends the post with. As the energy landscape shifts towards renewable sources, the integration of grid-forming inverters is essential for ensuring a stable, resilient and reliable grid. To facilitate this transition, grid-forming inverters must become a standard requirement for all inverter-based systems. Incentivizing the adoption of grid-forming inverters through market incentive and independent system operators standard ensures a future grid that can support high levels of renewable energy while maintaining stability and reliability. Again, Tesla is showing the way how to make a grid being able to handle 100% renewable generation. And let's squeeze in the last short news topics into this news show. Yes, it's time for the Tesla shorts. Elon started to share his frustration this week with Trump's new big beautiful bill. As Elon wrote, "I am sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong, you know it." And later he wrote, "It will massively increase the already gigantic budget deficit to $2.5 trillion and burden the American citizens with crushingly unsustainable debt." And from there on, Elon and Trump got into kind of a fight online. Very disappointing to see how their difference of an opinion in a bill quickly got personal. But anyway, this, like all the noise we have been talking about because of Elon voting for Trump and running the Doge team, like I have been saying, all of that is just noise. It will pass. This will too. I agree completely with Joss here from Tesla that wrote, "The noise will pass. The work we're doing at Tesla won't. While the world debates, we build." Exactly, like Tesla has always done. No matter who's in the White House, no matter who Elon is fighting with, as there always seems to be someone, right? Tesla will continue to build. There can be some short-term volatility, as we have already seen, but long-term, the technology always wins. And we see the BYD sales in Germany have skyrocketed since February, as we can see here on AJ's chart. So it will be very interesting to see if BYD can keep this sale up, or if this is another big one-off spike as we saw back in 2023. And like I said earlier, 60% of all cars sold in Germany are company cars, and BYD does sell a lot of company cars. So most of the sales might just be company cars. And AJ had found some more fun numbers from Germany that will make Tesla numbers look like gigantic numbers, as Lucid vehicle sales surged 150% in May in Germany compared to April, from 6 to 15 vehicles, making a fourth-month vehicle sales record. Year-to-date 2025, sales increased 12%. This could be a blockbuster year for Lucid in Germany. Yes, mainstream media could easily make headlines that would make this sound like Lucid is doing so much better than Tesla in Germany and killing Tesla in Germany because Tesla is down and Lucid is up. But 46 vehicles in Germany in all of 2025 seems like a very bad business case for Lucid. Even Tesla's bad month of May in Germany, well, they still sold over 1,200 units. And Tesla is getting some momentum back in Australia, as Roland reported. Australia reported 3,897 Tesla sales and 3.6% market share in May. BEV penetration is 9.2% and Tesla has 38.7% of the segment. Not bad. And he also shared this chart where we can see that in Hong Kong it's also starting to ramp up sales in May. But Tesla is also making new records in Singapore, as the Model 3 has been doing really well there, so not affected by the missing Model Y, as Tesla wrote. Tesla Singapore has achieved the following up to April this year. Model 3 is the best-selling sedan in Singapore year to date. So not EV, just best-selling sedan. Up 23% overall cars delivered year on year, up 40% in Q2 2025 versus Q1 2024 for the Model 3 delivered. Model 3 also achieved the highest NCAP rating in 2025. So in other words, Tesla is doing extremely well in Singapore, and soon the wave of the new Model Y will sweep the land as well. And the Wall Street Journal made this article about Elon was the lowest paid chief executive of the S&P 500 company last year. Tesla paid him $0. And Elon shared Sawyer's post about it and wrote, "0 for 7 years, despite increasing the value of the company more than 2,000%. Meanwhile, Mary Barra has probably got north of $150 million in the same period and have decreased DM's value." And Piper Sandler shared some notes on Tesla and how Tesla is doing things very differently than anyone else in the industry, as Alex Potter wrote in his note. Tesla is the only car company that is trying to source batteries at scale without relying on China. Eventually, Tesla will be making its own cathode active materials, refining its own lithium, building its own anodes, coating its own electrodes, assembling its own cells, and selling its own cars. No other US company can make similar claims. And Elon replied to this post, "It's important, albeit extremely hard work, to localize supply chains to mitigate geopolitical risk. Yes, as we have also seen that Suzuki stopped production of the Swift due to China's rare earth exporting restrictions." And like they wrote in this article, 2 decades ago, factories in Indiana that turned rare earth materials into magnets moved to China. Today, China could use dominance in magnets to bring American automotive assembly plants to a standstill. Yes, it's very important to have a localized supply chain, and also, like Tesla is working on, an electric motor without any rare earth materials at all. And Newlink also wrote this week, "In sharing our story with investors and our internal team, we realized there is no reason we shouldn't share that very same story with the rest of the world. So in 2 weeks, we have a public demo where we share that presentation with some bonus content. Stay tuned." Oh, very exciting. And Figures Brad shared a new video of their humanoid robot doing some useful work and fired some shot at Daniel here that didn't believe that the robot would ever be able to do this with random changing packages. But as Brad wrote, "Is this working, Dan?" And we see the robot handling all kind of random packages. And as Brad wrote, this is fully autonomously driven by Helix. The policy is a flipping package to orientate the barcode down and has learned to flatten package for the scanner like a human would. More is coming soon. And this is real-time speed as well, so a very impressive demo from Figure. And speaking of humanoid robots, Amazon is developing software for humanoid robots that could eventually take the job of delivery workers. Amazon is completing construction of a humanoid park, an indoor obstacle course, where it will soon test such robots in California. The company plans to use hardware from other firms in its test for now. And SpaceX continues to do good, as they wrote. In response to the Canadian wildfire, Starlink is providing 1 month of free service for existing and new customers in the impacted areas. Nice. And Redwood shared 100,000 plus EVs will come off US road this year, each with a battery packed with critical minerals. At Redwood, we work across the automotive industry with OEMs, dealers, and dismantlers to recover these batteries and turn end-of-life vehicles into new materials that power America's energy transition.
Battery demand is growing in almost every industry, and we know for a fact that electric vehicles are the fastest growing segment in automotive. We see more EVs on the road today than we've ever seen before, and that's not going to be slowing down anytime soon. As more and more EVs reach end of life and batteries are replaced or repaired, Redwood receives these batteries for recycling through a few different channels. You can see EVs coming into the dismantler space, so the junkyards that are out there in different towns across America. They also come in through repair network, like dealerships that repair vehicles. We can price and pick up batteries at any location that they might end up. So once we get these materials back into our recycling process, we then can produce cathode active materials to actually go back to one of those production facilities so that those batteries can be remanufactured using recycled materials right here in the United States.
And Tesla starting to roll out software update 2025.20 with new feature where charging can now be stopped and the charging cable released by pulling and holding the rear left door handle for 3 seconds. Very cool. And Joe Techmeyer wrote on X, Tesla can't seem to get enough transformers as more are arriving this morning. 5 trucks with 2 each being unloaded. Can't wait to see what Tesla is cooking up with all these transformers. And Michael Dunn also shared, Japan automakers' 30 years market dominance in Thailand is vanishing fast. So in the 1990s, 96%, in the 2000s, 94% in the 2010s, 93% in Q1 2025, 65%. BYD's and other Chinese automakers' pricing is mapping up market share. Yes, the Chinese are eating into legacy automakers' market share in more places than just China and Europe. And before we end off with a bit of fun, I just want to make a quick shout out to my newest supporters of this channel. My new YouTube members, IQ, Anestic Matix, John Boyner, and Lars Fuglsang, who is also sharing a lot of cool information with me on X. Thank you for that as well, Lars. Thank you so much for all your support. I am doing this all by myself, but you guys are all the producers of this show. Thank you. And let's end off with a bit of fun. Tesla shared a little video about how you will never want to go back to an ICE car once you have tried electric.
C'est quoi, merde? Ah non. C'est quoi cette connerie là? Oh mais, c'est quoi cette connerie? C'est cassé ou quoi? C'est quoi ce bruit?
That is all we have time for in this new show. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button. It really does help this video out a lot so others can find it on YouTube. And if you did like it, maybe you want to consider hitting that subscribe button, notification bell, so you don't miss out on future videos just like this one. And if you're already a subscriber to the channel, thank you so much for the support. But if you want to support the channel even more, remember you can, for as little as $1, become a patron of this channel, or become a member of the YouTube channel to get a shout out as some extra perks like early access, ad-free versions of my videos, exclusive videos. So hit the members button or check out Patreon to find out more. And don't forget to follow me on X. I post pretty much all the news as it comes out and a lot more, and check out the merch store to get some merchandise and support the show. It is also possible to support the show without becoming a member or a patron. There is a donation option down below or on my website bestintesla.com. You can also become an executive producer and get news articles, exclusive videos, behind the scenes, and access to all my research charts and spreadsheets also on bestintesla.com, or as simple as hitting the super like button. And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.